Good morning and welcome to A News. I'm Bakhtiar Asanov and here are the top stories. UN Security Council reconvenes to discuss the dire situation in Congo as tensions continue to escalate. North Korean leader Kim Jong-un calls for bolstering nuclear arsenal. Niagara Falls frozen as the coldest U.S. winter in 13 years continues. The ongoing conflict in the Democratic Republic of the Congo has escalated to a critical humanitarian crisis, with both civilian populations and peacekeeping missions caught in the crossfire. As political tensions rise, international calls for urgent intervention grow louder, but prospects for peace remain uncertain. As the UN Security Council reconvened once more, the situation remains dire, with thousands of lives at risk unless immediate action is taken.
Ongoing fighting in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, DRC, is severely hindering the operations of the UN peacekeeping mission, MONUSCO. Vivian van der Peer, Deputy Special Representative of MONUSCO, stated during an emergency meeting of the Security Council that supply convoys are facing difficulties and available resources are running out. Speaking via video link from Goma, van der Peer emphasized that water tanks, generators, and vehicles in the camps have been damaged.
The fighting of the past week has also severely hampered supply convoys and consumed many resources held by MONUSCO's units. Damage to camps, including water tanks, generators, and vehicles, has further exacerbated the situation. Many troops are now running out of critical equipment, especially water, food, medical supplies, and blood. In some camps, fuel shortages have rendered generators inoperable, affecting communications equipment. In addition, a significant number of non-combatants have sought refuge in MONUSCO's camps in need of food, water, and medical care, further straining already limited supplies.
The biggest victims of the conflict are once again civilians.
Displaced persons without shelter, the separation of families, the proliferation of armed elements, and the escape of prisoners following a breakout from Goma prison increase the vulnerability of women and children to sexual and gender-based violence.
UN human rights observers have documented various incidents at an internally displaced persons camp in Goma over the past 4 days. A MONUSCO official has called on the international community to take urgent action and has demanded the establishment of humanitarian corridors.
In light of the ongoing crisis, we urgently require the end of jamming and spoofing, as well as the establishment of humanitarian corridors between Goma, Minova, and Bukavu. This will allow the resupply of essential items, the rotation of humanitarian staff, and the safe movement of civilians. We also appeal for the establishment of high-level diplomatic channels to ensure that critical airports, border points, and humanitarian access routes are reopened without delay.
Thérèse Kayikwamba-Wagner, the Minister of Foreign Affairs of the DRC, noted that the Rwandan armed forces and M23 rebels have violated the borders of the Congo, occupied cities, displaced the local population, and established parallel administrative structures. Meanwhile, Rwanda's permanent representative to the UN, however, claimed that DRC forces had shelled Rwandan territory. Rwamukio emphasized that Rwanda remains committed to peace. As the fighting continues, humanitarian situation in the DRC has reached a critical level. Thousands have already fled in the face of fighting in eastern Congo, including soldiers.
City of Goma in the east of the Democratic Republic of Congo has turned to a war zone, with fighting raging between Congolese forces and the M23 rebels. The city on the border with Rwanda was declared captured by the rebels yesterday. The clashes have triggered attacks on embassies in the capital. Our Chris Ochamringa brings more from Kinshasa.
The city of Goma in the east of the Democratic Republic of Congo has been turned into a battle zone as government forces and their allied militias fight the M23 rebels. The rebels entered the city on Monday and announced its seizure from government troops. But clashes have continued in the densely populated city that shares a border with Rwanda. Congolese authorities have accused Rwanda of sending its soldiers to reinforce the rebels. Rwanda has denied the accusation, but UN officials have confirmed the presence of Rwandan soldiers in the city. The clashes in the east of the DRC have sparked protests in the capital, Kinshasa. Hundreds of protesters attacked the embassies of Rwanda, Uganda, France, Belgium, and the United States. They accused those foreign countries of supporting Rwanda, which UN experts had earlier said is backing the M23 rebels. Police in Kinshasa have been struggling to disperse the protesters. The fighting in eastern DRC has left hundreds of people dead. Hospitals in Goma are overwhelmed with the wounded soldiers and civilians. The United Nations and other regional blocs in Africa have condemned the violence and urged the warring sides to cease fire. An emergency meeting is scheduled to be held by the UN Security Council to try and prevent the conflict from turning into a full-scale war. Chris Ochamringa, A-News, Kinshasa.
Serbia's President Alexander Vučić hints at snap elections after Serbian Prime Minister Milos Vučević resigned. The head of Serbian government resigned over the deadly collapse of a railway station roof in Novi Sad, becoming the highest-ranking official to step down following nationwide protest. Vučić noted that once the Prime Minister's resignation is confirmed, a 30-day period will begin during which the necessary procedures for the formation of a new government must take place. Nationwide protests have continued in the United States against President Donald Trump's immigration policies, which according to him are aimed at deporting a record number of immigrants in the U.S. without legal status. The latest demonstration took place in Oklahoma, with protesters gathered outside the State Department of Education to oppose potential ICE raids in public schools. The demonstrators held flags from Guatemala, Mexico, and Venezuela, while chanting, "Immigrants should stay here." In just over a week in office, President Trump rolled back Biden-era guidance that limited arrests of non-criminals and scrapped a Biden policy that restricted enforcement at schools, churches, hospitals, and other sensitive locations, while critics say Trump could hurt businesses and separate families. North Korean leader Kim Jong-un is doubling down on nuclear expansion during a visit to key nuclear facilities. He called for increased weapons production in 2025 and beyond. State media reports that Kim toured a nuclear materials plant and weapons institute, praising scientists for their work. His visit comes as Pyongyang steps up missile tests amid U.S. political shifts. Analysts estimate North Korea has enough material for up to 90 nuclear warheads. An Airbus plane belonging to South Korean carrier Air Busan caught fire at Gimhae International Airport in the country's south while preparing for departure to Hong Kong. At least 3 people were injured when an Air Busan plane caught fire. The aircraft, which was preparing for departure to Hong Kong, caught fire at its tail before takeoff. Emergency responders quickly evacuated all 169 passengers and crew members, but 3 individuals sustained injuries during the evacuation. The incident comes in the wake of a tragic accident on December 29th when a Jeju Air flight crashed at Muan International Airport, resulting in the loss of 177 lives. A religious festival in India turned tragic as a deadly stampede broke out in Uttar Pradesh. Officials confirmed multiple casualties and injuries. A stampede in northern India left at least 7 dead and 10 injured. Crowds had gathered for a sacred dip when chaos erupted. Ambulances rushed victims to hospitals and security forces worked to restore order. The cause remains unclear. A transport link between Azerbaijan and Nakhchivan Autonomous Republic remains unresolved. Azerbaijani President Ilham Aliyev addressed this issue during a meeting dedicated to transportation matters, calling out Armenia for failing to meet its obligations.
There should be a transport connection between the main part of Azerbaijan and the Nakhchivan Autonomous Republic. This was emphasized by the President of Azerbaijan, Ilham Aliyev, during the meeting dedicated to transportation issues. Aliyev accused Armenia of failing to honor commitments made in the aftermath of the 2020 Karabakh War. Nakhchivan, an exclave of Azerbaijan, is geographically isolated from the country and separated by Armenia. Currently, Azerbaijan lacks a direct and convenient land route to access it. The president referenced the trilateral statement made by the leaders of Azerbaijan, Armenia and Russia on 10 November 2020, which included a provision for opening transport links. In his address to the meeting, Aliyev stated that Armenia is employing various excuses and, quote, various unrealistic and absurd projects to mislead the international community.
You have probably heard that they have come up with the so-called Peace Crossroads project. And now there is not a single country in the world they have not shared this project with. However, this so-called project is not worth 2 cents without Azerbaijan, and we have repeatedly conveyed this to the Armenian side through various channels. If you truly want to implement this project, first of all, you should approach Azerbaijan, because without us, it is just a piece of paper, and our terms are fair, grounded in international law and the obligations Armenia itself has undertaken. I would once again advise the Armenian leadership to carefully read the November 10th Capitulation Act and pay special attention to the paragraph I mentioned.
President Aliyev criticized Armenia for stalling for time and trying to confuse the international community. He reiterated that due to these actions, Azerbaijan still lacks the shortest and most convenient connection to the Nakhchivan Autonomous Republic.
The municipal elections in Azerbaijan officially began today at 8 a.m. A total of 16,092 candidates are competing for 8,071 municipal member positions across 685 municipalities nationwide. Voting is being conducted in 5,846 polling stations across 118 constituencies. Turkey has doubled its solar power capacity to over 19 gigawatts in just 2.5 years, surpassing its 2025 target by August 2024. That's according to a report released by London-based energy think tank Ember.
Turkey's achievement came 18 months ahead of schedule, highlighting the country's rapid advancement in renewable energy. According to the London-based energy think tank Ember, over the past 2.5 years, electricity generation from wind and solar has helped avoid $15 billion in gas imports. The remarkable growth in solar capacity has been primarily driven by unlicensed self-consumption projects from households and businesses. Planned investments in diverse solar projects, including rooftop, storage-integrated, floating, and hybrid systems, are expected to maintain this momentum. Turkey aims to increase its combined wind and solar energy capacity from 30 gigawatts to 120 gigawatts by 2035. The country has already far exceeded its 2030 National Energy Plan target of 2 gigawatts for storage-integrated solar capacity, with 14.6 gigawatts pre-licensed as of 2024. The long-term climate change strategy introduced at COP29 in Baku sets ambitious 2035 targets of 77 gigawatts for solar and 43 gigawatts for wind, providing a clear roadmap for scaling up renewables. By doubling its solar energy capacity in just 2.5 years and surpassing its 2025 target ahead of schedule, Turkey has demonstrated its potential to set more ambitious goals.
Electric vehicle sales are expected to continue their upward trend this year, with a notable increase of 18% anticipated as the global market grows. This increase highlights the ongoing shift towards electric mobility as demand for EVs continues to climb.
The growth of global EV sales comes amid shifting legislative landscapes in key regions, with China leading the charge, the EU enforcing stricter emissions standards, and North America adjusting to policy changes under the Donald Trump administration. China is projected at the forefront of the EV revolution, with projected sales of 13 million units in 2025, marking a 17% increase from 2024. The country's dominance is bolstered by its aggressive expansion into international markets, with major manufacturers such as BYD and Great Wall Motors establishing production facilities abroad, including in Brazil and Hungary. The European market, the EU, European Free Trade Association, and the UK, is predicted to recover from a difficult 2024, during which sales declined by 3% compared to 2023. New emissions standards coming into effect are expected to drive a 15% year-on-year growth, with 3.5 million units projected to be sold in 2025. In the US and Canada, the EV market is foreseen to grow by 16% in 2025, with sales at 2.1 million units. The transition to President Donald Trump's administration brings uncertainty to the sector, particularly regarding potential policy shifts, such as the removal of EV tax credits. However, the immediate impact on 2025 is expected to be minimal, as manufacturers have already set their plans for the year.
Atomic scientists have set the symbolic doomsday clock at 89 seconds to midnight. That's 1 second closer to the theoretical point of annihilation than last year.
Today, the Bulletin of the Atomic Science.
The symbolic doomsday clock has become a powerful representation of how close humanity is to potential global catastrophe, with midnight symbolizing destruction. In January 2024, the doomsday clock has reset at 90 seconds to midnight, the closest to midnight it has ever been. Established in 1947 by atomic scientists, including Albert Einstein, the doomsday clock represents global threats like nuclear weapons and climate change. Every year, the Bulletin Science and Security Board, including scientists, policy experts, and Nobel laureates, evaluates world events to adjust the clock's hands. In 2025, the doomsday clock moved closer to midnight, now setting at 89 seconds, 1 second closer than last year, citing rising global threats. Key factors include Russia's nuclear risks amid the Ukraine invasion, escalating tensions in the Middle East with the Israel-Gaza conflict, military AI advancements, and the worsening climate crisis. Additional concerns include China's military pressure on Taiwan and North Korea's ongoing missile tests. The doomsday clock remains a sobering reminder of the fragile balance of global stability and the importance of cooperative action to secure a sustainable future.
Extreme winter weather in the United States and Canada has caused Niagara Falls to partly freeze over. The waterfall on the border between the two countries has a fascinating history of ice formations.
A severe cold snap has blanketed Niagara Falls in thick snow and ice, creating a breathtaking winter spectacle. The latest footage captured from the New York side shows the iconic landmark surrounded by layers of ice, giving the illusion that the falls have completely frozen over. While Niagara Falls never fully freezes, the frigid temperatures plunging as low as 22 degrees Fahrenheit have caused mist and spray to solidify into intricate ice formations. The rushing water continues to flow beneath the icy crust, but the frozen surface creates a mesmerizing winter illusion that captivates visitors and photographers alike.
Oh, it's incredible. I saw it 20 years ago in the middle of the summer, and this is a very different look, obviously. It's a little brisk out here, but we wanted to take a little detour and come and see it in the middle of the winter.
As extreme winter weather continues to grip both the US and Canada, Niagara Falls remains a must-see winter wonder, drawing crowds eager to witness its icy transformation.
That's all for now, but don't go anywhere. Stay tuned to A News for more exclusive updates.